when you look at great racehorses, they have an attribute that puts their competition away. For Beholder, it's the move coming out of the turn, an 1/8 of a mile burst. Let's see what happens.
Away they go. Beholder got a good enough break from the outside, but is fanned wide in the early stages. My Sweet Addiction is right there, and Wild in the saddle in the white cap. Then My Monet, Kiriaki in the white cap, moving up a little closer. Beholder caught about 5 wide into the turn. Now probably going to have to drop in behind, although still wide as they pass the 7/8. Big Book behind that. Then comes Warren's Vanita. And last of all is Savings Account. 8 lengths covers them all. On to the backstretch they go, and Mike Smith has taken My Sweet Addiction along at a good pace, leads at a length and a half. Wild in the saddle is second, My Monet down at the rail. Beholder in the orange cap on the far side. Beholder now running up to take the third spot, just 2 off the leaders. Kiriaki's right there, 5th. Then comes Warren's Vanita in the red blinkers, 4 lengths off the leaders. Behind that Big Book, and Savings Account trails 7, covers them all. Past the half mile they go, and Beholder's now turning the pressure on. Beholder on the far side, My Sweet Addiction at the rail. They stride for stride with 3/8 to go. Then My Monet, Kiriaki behind that. Wild in the saddle, losing ground. Warren's Vanita still far back. They are coming towards the quarter pole now, and Beholder now takes the lead. And Beholder goes on for home. My Sweet Addiction tries to hang tough. My Monet is back in third. At the top of the lane, and it's all Beholder. Gary Stevens has not asked her now. Takes a look over his shoulder at My Sweet Addiction. Now a look over his right shoulder, but Beholder once again is just making this look so easy. It is Beholder in an absolute canter, been geared down late by Gary Stevens. Beholder in a formality. My Sweet Addiction second, then came Savings Account. Close Big Book and My Monet. Warren's Vanita behind them, Wild in the saddle, and Kiriaki was last.
Perfect is not just how you describe the record this year for Beholder at 5 for 5. It's the way she's handling her competition with devastating ease. Keeneland graduate, Beholder, winning the Grade 1 Zenyatta for fun.
Yeah, she went about 5 wide on the turn. There is Papa Mandela. And, you know, Gary just sort of rode her the way Mike used to ride Zenyatta. Sort of, let's stay out of trouble here and let's get the job done.
That was the whole thing here. Just stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. And remember, there's a bigger race coming up here in a matter of 5 weeks. So stay out of trouble. We win the race and kind of wrap up late. That's exactly what Stevens did with Beholder. My Sweet Addiction, big performance in second. To get the lead, to make Beholder work a little tiny bit at least about the 3/8 pole and be a clear-cut second in this race at 21, but all about Beholder, who now wins this race for the 3rd consecutive year.
Okay, let's imagine a race at 1.25 miles. American Pharoah and Beholder in said race.
And Beholder, I think it's Beholder.
Who would you play?
Let's say it's at Keeneland.
I just think
okay, well, let's not get crazy.
Okay.
But right now, I'm just imagining a race.
Who
would you play between Beholder and American Pharoah?
You watch the effort and the ease, and Beholder's doing this. Now, I understand you could argue that the 3-year-olds might be better than the older males, and she crushed some weaker horses in the Pacific Classic, TVG Pacific Classic last time. But let's not forget, this horse has been through a grueling Triple Crown, American Pharoah, and to me, might not be the same horse. This horse is flourishing, and I just don't see anybody beating her.
To answer your question, I don't know. I do think American Pharoah is still favored.
Really?
He's favored. Okay. I think you win the Triple Crown. You had the year that you have. I think he's favored in the race, but the margin continues to narrow.
Okay,
between the two.
Okay, so on that particular matchup, but let me ask you, is there an others category that you'd be willing to play?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are starting to forget about Keen Ice and Frosted. You know, Keen Ice was getting better, not a bad race, and maybe it wasn't a fluke in the Travers.
Wait, I thought you were a Liam's map guy, and those horses that had
he's pretty good
so well
too.
At
Saratoga.
Honor Code especially. Yeah. So there's a lot to look forward to in the fall championship time for thoroughbred racing. But Beholder, especially given the defeat by American Pharoah last time out, she's done something American Pharoah's not done this year, remained undefeated. But again, being your first Triple Crown winner in 37 years goes a long way for American Pharoah. But there is no doubt, for those who follow racing day in and day out, Beholder has every reason to lay claim to the title of best horse in America. Papa Mandela knows it, and the connections have even put out the idea, if Papa Mandela feels she could have another campaign, they would race next year. That speaks volumes.